Tim DTV. It's variety, the real footage show. Tim Davis.
Hello and welcome to the 38th edition of The Real Footage Show with me, Tim Davis. In this episode of The Real Footage Show on YouTube, we are going to be talking about Nick at Nite Classic TV. And in this video, we are going to be discussing classic TV items, and I'm going to be sharing them with you on camera as well. So sit back and enjoy some classic TV memorabilia from the classic early days of Nick at Nite. On July 1st of 1985, the Nick at Nite cable TV network went on the air for the very first time, and throughout the rest of the 80s and into the 90s and beyond, the network presented numerous reruns of television shows from decades past. This video was focusing more on the network's more earlier days. The network nowadays programming trend is that of more modern TV classics, but throughout the 1980s and basically throughout all of the 1990s, the network was dedicated to classic television. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing some items with you that I've collected over the years that have come from mostly on the internet or whatnot. But these happen to be coasters that you would put drinks on or whatnot. And there's a total of 4 of them. And I believe at one time these coasters were available for purchase through a Nick at Nite order form or a magazine or, of something of that nature. But these coasters are unique because they have different styles on each one of them. This one here has the Nick at Nite logo on the bottom of it, and I'm not sure what this coaster signifies, but it's just basically a moose head, a mounted moose head on a wall with the Nick at Nite logo on the bottom of it. I'm not sure what show or what this exactly exemplifies, but this was one of the 4 that came in the set. The Donna Reed Show is the next one. The Donna Reed Show was a classic show on Nick at Nite throughout. It was actually one of the very first shows to start the lineup on Nick at Nite when the network first launched in 1985. It was one of the very first shows on the network. And this program ran on the network from 1985 up until the spring of 1994. The Donna Reed Show was a classic 1950s and into the 60s TV series, a great sitcom. And this coaster has the Donna Reed Show logo from the show's later seasons, as well as a mixing bowl and a mixer and the Nick at Nite Heart logo of that time. Following up with that, here's another classic TV series from the 1960s, the talking head sitcom Mr. Ed. The talking horse sitcom Mr. Ed. And this was another popular program on the Nick at Nite TV network back in the late 80s and into the 90s. This is the Mr. Ed coaster. And then behind that, our 4th and final one of the set is a popular and classic TV show from the 1960s, Green Acres. This coaster has the Nick at Nite logo with the cow on it and the Green Acres logo on the cow. So these coasters are unique because I think these were made sometime in the 1990s. They're vintage, and again, the best example that you get from it is that they reflect on what Nick at Nite's programming is like during that era in the 1990s. So these are the Nick at Nite coasters. In the 1990s, Nick at Nite released this classic television book for the network titled Nick at Nite's Classic TV Companion. It is the all-night, every-night guide to better living through television. It was edited by Tom Hill, who worked for Nick at Nite at the time. And this book has a total of about, 476 pages of TV information for various shows that were airing on the network at the time. This book, produced in the year 1996, features the then current amount of shows that was airing on the network at the time. And this book has shows on it, or in it, like The Mary Tyler Moore Show, Welcome Back, Kotter, I Love Lucy, Bewitched, Taxi, The Munsters, I Dream of Jeannie, The Bob Newhart Show, and The Dick Van Dyke Show. These shows in 1996 were currently airing on the network at the time, and this book was basically put out for viewers of the network to purchase it and follow along with the series that were airing on the network at the current time. This book is basically an episode guide to these series that I have just mentioned, and it goes through season of each of those shows, and it gives you a history about the shows when they actually aired on the network. This happens to be the example that I'm showing here for Bewitched on Nick at Night. It tells you a little bit about the show and when it first began airing on the network, and then following that, it begins to show you the cast from the series, and then a complete episode guide, episode by episode, season by season for each of these shows. At the time, Nick at Night was only showing the black and white episodes of Bewitched, so unfortunately, all of the rest of the seasons that were filmed in color were not included in this book for Bewitched. But for the other series in this book, like the Bob Newhart Show or the Dick Van Dyke Show, for example, complete episode information is available for every single episode that was made for those series. It also gives you trivia. It gives you classic quotes, that something that was mentioned that was very popular from the episode is mentioned. It gives you a synopsis on what the episode is about. It gives you the cast, and if any guest stars were in it, who was written by and directed by. It gives you the episode numbers, the titles of each episode. There's no pictures in this book. There's no photos. It's basically just all writing, but it's a very informative book, and it gives you a lot of information on these particular series for each of these shows. I found this book very useful over the years because I was able to follow along with it, especially for series that I collect on DVD. It's interesting to follow along and to see little trivia tidbits about each of these shows, classic guest star information, and much, much more. So this is the Nick at Night's Classic TV Companion, a book that was released by Nick at Night in the year 1996. You could probably still find this somewhere on the internet nowadays, whether it was on an online auction site or any place that might sell used or out-of-print books. This book is definitely, I suggest, well recommended to pick up because it has a lot of great information about classic TV series in it. This is a nightlight from Nick at Night that was released over the years with the Nick at Night logo and classic TV written on it. You could actually plug this into a wall outlet, and this illuminates a faint light comes off of it, but they mostly call these bug lights, or how fitting for most logos, or they call logos bugs when they're on the corners of the screen. So I guess you could call this a bug light or a night light or whatnot. But let me turn some of these lights off here, and maybe I can show you how it illuminates. It's not really that bright, so it might be difficult to show up on camera. But we'll just try it anyway. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. It kind of lights up like a faint orange. I'm sure when it was brand new, it was probably a little bit more. You might not be able to see it, but if you take notice, it does look like the top of it or whatever is backlit orange. But it is illuminated right there. On camera, it probably looks like it's lit up being white, but from where I'm holding it, it actually is like an orangish color. Maybe if I put it over here, you can see it. It has like an orangish tint to it. But this is the Nick at Night Classic TV Nightlight. Over the years, Nick at Night has had quite a number of promotions for their shows or whatnot. Some strange, some unusual. This happens to be one that is kind of unusual. This happens to be a Nick at Night Mr. Ed glue bottle for the Mr. Ed TV show, which was airing on Nick at Night back in the 1980s through into the 1990s. And it says Mr. Ed glue. This is dated 1988, and it says that you feel free to add your favorite glue and stick with Nick at Night. It's basically just a promotional item for the Mr. Ed TV show on the network. This bottle came as is with actually nothing inside of it, but I guess if you really wanted to, you could put some kind of a liquid or something into this, I guess, if you really wanted to. Mostly, I think, just used for as a promotional item for Mr. Ed on Nick at Night. But again, a very unique and interesting item from the more classic earlier days of Nick at Night. When the classic TV series Taxi debuted on the Nick at Night cable TV channel in 1994, the network had a lot of on-air promotions for the show to promote its new show to the schedule, as well as other items, and this happens to be one. Over the years, Nick at Night has also released a series of wristwatches for various TV shows. I just so happen to have this as an example here for you. This happens to be the Taxi Nick at Night wristwatch that was put out in 1994. This happens to be the box for it. And inside of this box, which is interestingly well creatively thought out and done, there is a cardboard taxi that pops up, such as that. And in it is the wristwatch as well as a whistle. A whistle comes with it. Supposedly, like when you hail a taxi, you're supposed to whistle for them and whatnot, so they actually gave a whistle for this. And it's actually, I never really took this out of the wrapper, but I'm not going to now because I noticed that it's like stapled to the plastic. But this is the whistle that comes with it. And the wristwatch itself obviously needs a battery because it doesn't work anymore, but this is what the wristwatch looks like. It comes with this taxi tag, basically just a little tag for the watch, but there is the taxi watch. The Nick at Night logo is on the bottom of it. On the upper top of it, it is an arm. That's the side of a taxi cab door there you're seeing where the hands of the watch are. And there's a person's arm hanging out of the, or leaning onto the door. So this is the Taxi classic TV wristwatch that was put out by the Nick at Night TV network in 1994 as a promotional item. Also over the years, Nick at Night has also released a record company line known as Nick at Night Records for various TV shows and for music throughout the years, whether it's from pop music to classic TV shows. These are two of the best examples of some of the more popular items that they released from that line of music. The Dick Van Dyke's Dance Party and the Donna Reed's Dinner Party CDs or cassettes, they were available in both forms. Again, these are rare and now out of print, but if you really look hard for them, you could probably find these anywhere on the internet or on an auction website or whatnot. The Dick Van Dyke's Dance Party CD is of course, related to the TV show, The Dick Van Dyke Show, which was very popular, airing on Nick at Night back throughout pretty much all of the 1990s and into the early 2000s. The Dick Van Dyke Show is a classic TV series, and this CD was made for the show specifically, titled Dick Van Dyke's Dance Party. There's a picture of Dick Van Dyke on the cover of this CD, and what it does, this CD features 14 songs by various artists and whatnot, of mostly tunes that are great to hear at a party. They're mostly classic songs. Of course, the CD opens up with a theme song to the Dick Van Dyke Show. It also has songs on it like Twist and Shout, I Want Candy, Peppermint Twist, Cool Jerk, Watermelon Man, The Locomotion, Tequila, Save the Last Dance for Me, Do You Love Me, Bandstand Boogie, and various other songs by classic artists in the music industry. So the Dick Van Dyke's Dance Party CD is, as I mentioned, pretty popular because it was a popular show on Nick at Night, and of course this was one of their more popular CD releases from the Nick at Night Records series. And then next to that, we also have the Donna Reed's Dinner Party. The Donna Reed Show was a classic TV series from the 1950s and into the 1960s. And this Donna Reed's Dinner Party CD, pretty much like the Dick Van Dyke's Dance Party, this one's a little bit more with the dinner party theme rather than a fast-paced dance party. This is a little bit more laid back, and it features a picture of Donna Reed on the cover among like animation graphics. And this CD, again, just like the Dick Van Dyke's Dance Party CD, features various songs and artists from mostly classics from the late 50s and 60s. This music is. It has a total of about 14 artists and songs on it. Of course, it starts off with the Donna Reed Show theme song. It also has songs on it from Doris Day, like Whatever Will Be, Que Sera, Sera. It has songs from Andy Williams, Johnny Mathis, Shelley Fabre, and Paul Peterson, of course, from the Donna Reed Show, are on this. Shelley Fabre sings her popular song, Johnny Angel, and Paul Peterson sings his popular song, My Dad. We also have the Ray Conniff singers. We have Linda Scott, Percy Faith and his orchestra with the theme from A Summer Place, Unchained Melody by Royal Hamilton. Johnny Mathis sings Chances Are. Andy Williams sings Moon River, as well as Can't Get Used to Losing You and various others. So these two CDs, the Dick Van Dyke's Dance Party CD and the Donna Reed's Dinner Party CD, not only showcase two classic series that were on Nick at Night throughout the years, but also presents the listener, if you purchase these, with various and a great selection of tunes from the 50s and 60s and other various years as well for you to enjoy. And finishing up our video, we're going to be sharing with you this classic TV calendar that was put out by Nick at Night for the year 1997. This is a 1997 desk calendar or wall calendar. I guess you could hang it as well. It's 365 classic TV tidbits for the 1997 calendar year. Obviously, this must have been produced sometime in 1996, and it has page after page of classic TV trivia for each day of the year for that year of 1997. I'll just quickly go through some of the pages, and I'll see what some of them have to offer here. Did you know that Alfred Hitchcock was something of an artist? He drew the famous profile of himself that he steps into before each episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. That's just one of the pages of this calendar that you get to read, and it's interesting little tidbits like that that make this interesting. Battle of the Network Belly Buttons. In the fall of 1965, when I Dream of Jeannie debuted, NBC insisted Jeannie cover up her navel. Yet the previous year, Gilligan's Island debuted on CBS, where Mary Ann and Ginger were free to frolic on the island with exposed belly buttons. So, let's see, what else we have here? Look for the late Jack Cassidy as Ted Knight's obnoxious brother Hal in the Mary Tyler Moore Show episode Cover Boy. Cassidy's other classic TV connections were his wife, Shirley Jones, and his sons' 70s teen hunks, David and Sean Cassidy. That's an interesting information on one of the pages here from one of the months. I'll read another one. Let's see. Jackie Gleason didn't believe in rehearsing, so many of the Honeymooners episodes were his first crack at the script. On the rare occasion Gleason forgot a line, he'd signal the other actors by rubbing his stomach, see if you can spot it. Very interesting little things like that make this calendar very worth having, even though it is not 1997 anymore. Whether if it was that year or 40 years after this calendar was put out, it's just interesting to have this for those little bits of information from numerous stars and numerous TV shows over the years. This has been the 38th edition of the Real Footage Show, and in this video I shared with you a variety of items that I have collected over the years that I have here in my collection of Nick at Night memorabilia, among many others that I have here. You could see other items that I have collected over the years that are Nick at Night themed in my other videos throughout my YouTube channel. Just look for videos of mine that are classic TV oriented, and you will find me presenting on camera more Nick at Night items such as those that I just showed you. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, or feel free to comment on it and share your thoughts about how Nick at Night used to be nothing but a classic TV network back throughout the 80s and 90s and into the early 2000s. You could also add me as a friend on Facebook, Tim Davis, Tim D Productions. And you could also subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow along with more of my videos that are TV, film, and entertainment themed from the pop culture industry. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow along with my videos and see all the videos I've made throughout the years as well. This has been the 38th edition of The Real Footage Show, and my name is Tim Davis. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.